Why do we need hidden layers in neural networks? It all comes back to a single motivating question. Can neural networks solve nonlinear problems like XOR or exclusive OR? So the way that XOR works is very similar to OR in logic, where we have two inputs, x1 and x2. And now, given that each one can take on two values, 0 and 1, we have four possible cases. So if we get 0 and 0, the output is 0. 0 and 1 and 1 and 0, they both give us 1. And the main difference between XOR and OR is that if we have x1 and x2 both to be 1, then the output is 0. Meaning that in this case, if inputs are different, then the output is 1. And otherwise, we get 0. So how does this relate to classification problems? So right now, we can assume that we have 4 data points or 4 observations, where each observation is two-dimensional, meaning that we have this x1, x2 coordinate system. And if we plot these data points and also color code them to see the difference in their outputs or labels, we have 0 and 0 and 1 and 1 that they both belong to class 0. And then 0 and 1 and 1 and 0, they belong to class 1. And so once we plot all these 4 points here, you can see that this is a difficult classification problem in the sense that we cannot find a single line to correctly classify or separate these data points. As you can see here, I can have different lines that, regardless of how many times I try, I cannot correctly classify these. And this means that overall, we need a more complex nonlinear function to correctly classify these green and red data points. And the question we want to answer in this video is that can we have a neural network, let's say with a single hidden layer, to correctly classify these data points? So in order to answer this question, we have to go first look at the architecture of neural networks, especially in the case that we have these inputs that we have x1 and x2 in the first layer of our network. This is often referred to as input layer of our network. And then we're going to connect this to what we call it as the hidden layer, where we have a layer with some neurons, but these neurons are hidden because we can't actually observe them. So it's something between the inputs and what we can actually observe as the output. And so now we have these weights or connections here that you can see that connect x1 and x2 to this h1 and h2, where h here stands for hidden neuron. And since I have two neurons, I use this indexing to say h1 and h2. In a real learning problem, we have to find these weights or connections. But in this case, I assume that I know the optimal solution where all these weights are 1s. And then we do have this bias term that I assume that is 0 for h1 and -1 for h2. So this is just a single number that we add to the weighted sum or linear combination that we get from the inputs. So let's look closely at each hidden neuron, hi, where I equals 1 or 2. So it has two operations. The first thing is this summation or weighted sum. And then we apply the result of that to a nonlinear activation function. And in this case, rectify linear unit or LU, which is simply max of 0 and z. So this means that if the input to this function is negative, then we get 0. But if the input is 0 or some positive number, we just keep exactly what we get. And so now in this case, we have a hidden layer with two neurons. So this hidden layer can be really wide with so many different neurons in it, but in this case, we only need 2 to solve this problem. And now we want to connect this to actually what we can observe as the output. That's the result of XOR. And you can do this here with these two weights or connections. And I assume that I know the optimal value. The top one is 1, the bottom one is -2, and we don't use any bias terms for the final neuron in the output layer. So my goal is to show that with this network, with these weights and parameters, if I give these 4 different possible combinations, I get the correct outputs. And so we're going to go do this step by step and show that that's actually the case. So we will start with the case that we have 0 and 0 as the input. And one thing I want to emphasize here is that even for very complex neural networks like large language models and so on, the forward pass, meaning going from inputs to outputs, is very much the same. We use simple arithmetic, usually multiplication, addition, simple element-wise operations to move inputs to the output layer. So in this case, what we're going to do first, find the output of H1 and H2. In other words, we want to know what's the representation of the input given this architecture that we have right now, and then we connect them to the output. So in this case, we have two inputs to that node H1. One is this 0 node, which is 0 times 1, and then there's bottom one, which is outer 0 times 1. And then we add the bias term, which is 0. So this gives us 0, but don't forget that that's the summation part, right? Each node or neuron in the hidden layer performs two operations. First summation, and then applying the activation function, which is ReLU or rectify linear unit, and this gives us 0 here. Now we repeat the same exact process for H2. So we have the node 0 times 1, another 0 times 1, but remember in this case the bias term is -1, so therefore the entire summation, if we calculate, is -1. And if we pass this through the our activation function G, we get 0, because remember that's how that ReLU function works. And now we connect this to the output, and in this case we just need to know the weights or connections for those two final connections, and it's 1 and -2, which means that the output is 0 times 1 for the top root, and then for the bottom one we get 0 times -2, which again is 0. And this is ideal because we wanted to show that if we have inputs 0 and 0, the output is 0. So I think that now you understand the basic of how this works, right? So we're going to plug in the values for the inputs, then we know exactly all the weights or connections, and we use this to go from input layer to the output layer. The only difference between this case and the previous case is that in the input layer, the second neuron now is 1 instead of 0. So that will change a little bit in terms of what we get for H1. But other than that, everything else is pretty much the same. So we multiply 0 by 1 for the top root, and then 1 times 1. That's exactly the difference, because before this was 0 times 1. And then we add the bias term, which is 0. And then for H2, and also don't forget that we have to apply the activation function. I have to remind this to myself. And then for H2, we get 0 times 1, another 1 times 1. And then we subtract or add the bias term, but in this case the bias term is -1, which means that we subtract 1. So therefore for the H2 we get 0, and if we apply that ReLU function we get 0. And now if we calculate the output, we get 1 times 1 for the top root, and then 0 times -2, which is 0, and therefore the output is 1 as expected. So for case 3, we do the same thing, except the fact that now the input is 1 and 0. And everything else remains the same, right? So remember, these weights or connections are fixed regardless of what inputs we have. That's like the key thing we need to remember here. And so in this case, for the top one, we get 1 times 1, and then 0 times 1. Right, so you just need to figure out what connects to H1. So there are obviously two paths, and then there's a bias term. So we get 1 for H1 as its output, and then for H2 we get 1 times 1 plus 0 times 1, and then there's also a bias term. And we usually don't show these, but it's always important to remember, if you do have a bias, you need to actually use that in your calculations. And in this case, obviously we get 0. And if we look at the weights that we have for the final layer, 1 and -2. So this gives us again 1 times 1 is 1. And then the Other one is 0 because it's 0 times -2, so it doesn't change anything. So therefore, in this case, we got again our ideal output. 1 and 0 should give us 1. But the most important or interesting part of this is what happens if both inputs are actually 1s. So we repeat the same process. This time we assume that we have 2 1s. And we find H1 and H2. So in this case, for H1 and its output, we have 1 times 1 plus another 1 times 1, because there are 2 paths that they go toward H1, which means that we get 2, and g of 2 is 2. Remember, this ReLU does not change anything when we have 0 or something positive. And then for the bottom one, the H2, we get 1 times 1 plus 1 times 1 minus 1, so we get 1. And again, g of 1 equals 1. That's why we really like to use like ReLU. It's really easy. You don't have to apply any like complex operations onto the input, so it's very much easy to find what the output of this g function is. And now if we do the math, we get 2 times 1 for the top path, and then 1 plus -2 for the bottom one. And this is great because we wanted to get actually 0. So this shows us, yes, we have the right neural network, because now when we get 1 and 1, which is our last case, we also get the desired or ideal output, which is 0.